You opened the calendar invite and read the attendees, your manager, HRU, and you knew before the meeting started, not because anyone told you. Because the meeting existed, you sat down. They used words like opportunity and support and improvement. They gave you a document with goals and timelines and check-in dates. They said this was a chance to demonstrate your capabilities. You nodded. You asked a few clarifying questions to show you were engaged. You left the room and sat in your car and stayed there longer than you planned. That document is called a performance improvement plan. What it actually is has almost nothing to do with improvement. Here's what you need to understand before you spend a single additional hour trying to satisfy it. A PIP is a legal instrument. It is not a development tool. The people who designed it were not in HR. They were in legal. The purpose of the documentation is not to return you to good standing. The purpose is to create a record that demonstrates the organization provided reasonable opportunity for correction before it separated you. That record protects the company from wrongful termination claims. The PIP is the company's evidence assembled before the outcome it is building toward. That is not cynicism. That is the function of the document read straight. Think about the timeline you were given. 30 days, 60 days, 90. On the surface, that looks like time. It is not time given to you. It is time structured by the organization to satisfy the procedural requirements of a separation process that has already been initiated. The goals inside that window are not designed to be achieved. They are designed to be measurable, specific enough to track, documented enough to defend, close enough to possible that declining to meet them reads as a choice you made rather than a ceiling the organization set for you. You will try to meet them anyway. You will clear every item on the list and produce records of having done so, and you will discover, as most people do, that the goalposts moved, that new concerns appeared, that the bar had dimensions that weren't in the original document, that your manager, who seemed supportive in the meeting, is now producing written summaries of every interaction, not because they are dishonest, because they are also inside a process they were told to follow. Your manager did not design the PIP. In most cases, they were told to issue it. That is the part that makes this harder to see clearly. The person sitting across from you during those check-ins is not a villain. They may genuinely believe the improvement plan could work. They may be rooting for you privately in a way they are not positioned to express formally. None of that changes what the document is or what process it has set in motion. The manager's personal support and the organization's structural intent are operating on completely separate tracks. Warmth from the person does not alter the function of the process. Think about what has happened to your behavior since the document arrived. You are arriving earlier, leaving later, documenting everything you complete in formats that didn't previously exist. You are responding to messages at hours you never responded before. You are preparing for every check-in meeting the way you used to prepare for performance reviews. You are performing employment, not doing your job, performing the visible evidence of doing your job for an audience that is already writing a different story. That shift in your behavior is not discipline. It is the correct reading of your environment. Your nervous system understood what the document meant before your brain was ready to say it. Now look at what happened before the document existed. The PIP does not appear without a prior decision. It appears after that decision has already been made and requires procedural support. Somewhere upstream of the meeting, a conversation happened that you were not part of. Your role, your cost, your fit relative to a restructured team or a reduced headcount was discussed at a level above your manager. The PIP was assigned after that conversation reached a conclusion, not before. This is why the timing often feels disconnected from your actual performance. You had been doing your job sometimes for months, sometimes longer, at a level that produced no documentation, no formal concern, no warning. Then the PIP arrived, not because your performance suddenly deteriorated, because the organizational decision that required documentation of your performance finally got made. The plan is the paperwork. The decision preceded it. There is a specific category of person who receives PIPs more than others. They are not always poor performers. They are people whose positions became structurally inconvenient, whose salary sits at the top of the band for their role, whose function was absorbed or eliminated by a reorganization that was not publicly announced as such. They are people who asked inconvenient questions, who named problems accurately, and made someone uncomfortable, who advocated for things the organization decided not to change. PIPs do not always follow failure. They follow situations that require documentation. The people around you have noticed. They are quieter toward you than they were 3 weeks ago, not because they have decided you deserve what is happening, because they are doing the calculation that everyone inside an organization does the moment a PIP becomes visible. Associating with someone in that process carries a cost that most people decide is not theirs to absorb. The distance is not rejection, it is self-preservation running on exactly the logic you would recognize if the positions were reversed. They also know something you are only beginning to accept. In most structured organizations, the completion rate of a PIP resulting in the employee remaining in their role long term is low. Not because employees fail to improve, because the process was not designed with that outcome as the primary variable. Here's what this means for you practically. The energy you are spending trying to satisfy the document is energy you could be spending on the next thing. Every hour building the case for your performance inside a process designed to document your exit is an hour not spent on where you go from here. This is not giving up. This is correctly identifying which problem is still solvable. Continue showing up. Continue doing the work. Satisfy the terms you can satisfy clearly and keep records of doing so in your own files, in your possession, outside the organization's systems. Not because the PIP will be reversed, because your record of having met the standard belongs to you regardless of what the organization documents. Begin the job search now, not when the PIP concludes, not when the separation happens, now, while you still have the title, while you can still describe your role in the present tense, while the gap on your resume does not yet exist. The window between the PIP and the separation is the most valuable job search time you will have, and most people spend it trying to reverse the irreversible. Know what you are negotiating. If the process concludes in separation, the severance offer, the reference language, the departure framing and writing are all negotiable in ways that most people do not know, because most people spend every available resource trying to prevent the separation rather than shaping the terms of it. Those terms follow you. The reference does not disappear when the job ends. Shape it while you still have standing inside the conversation. None of what has happened to you is evidence of what you are worth. It is evidence of what a specific organization at a specific moment under specific financial and structural pressures decided it needed to document. You took the job seriously. You tried to do it well. When the environment shifted, you adapted to every visible signal available to you. When the document arrived, you read it as an honest description of the situation and responded with honest effort. All of that was the rational response to the information you had at the time. The information you now have is different. The plan was not designed for you to complete it. The process was not designed to return you to where you were. The conversation in that room was not about your future inside the organization. It was about the organization's future without you. And the paperwork required to get there cleanly, that is not a failure of your performance. That is a function of a process that was running before you walked in. You can stop trying to fix that. It was never yours to fix.